My first question in my evaluation is, in what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? So basically what I did is I developed my genre for researching other trailers of the same genre. I've researched conventions of trailers and I've researched on target audience. Basically the way I did that is through the Pearl and Dean site, which is quite useful. I'm going to talk about that later on. I created a PowerPoint presentation out of all the information I basically got out of my research, so that I can put it all in one place and I can use it more as a revision guide. I can understand it better, I can go over it when I need to. Basically I researched into magazine and poster front covers, and this helped me basically understand the general aim of what I'm going to create myself. So I looked into separate little parts of my actual film trailer, and I looked at basically what develops the forms of conventions of the genre. One of them that I found was location. It's mainly located in the alley and in a dark street, a small street leading into an alley, a dark house. That's a typical convention of a horror film. Even nowadays, most people get quite scared when they're walking through dark alleys because of these conventions through horror films and the conventions it has, the links it has in real life. The majority of the trailer is filmed at night, which is also a convention. Obviously, the darker it is, the less we know. It's almost like a mystery, what's actually in the dark. We don't ever know, so it adds a bit more to the scare. The props. There's a lot of props that follow the conventions, such as the knife, you know, a murder weapon, typical murder weapon, the blood, which is, you know, a sign that somebody has been hurt or murdered, or, you know. The characters and the costumes are actually the part of my film trailer that challenge the forms and conventions of a horror. This is because the main character, the antagonist, is actually a young girl. This subverts the typical conventions of a horror because it's usually an older man, you know, that is the antagonist, while the young girl is the victim, in some sort of sense, the protagonist. Basically, through my research, this was influenced because the young girl can be seen in other films such as The Grudge, The Ring, and it's almost as if it's debatably argued whether it's actually subverting the conventions of a horror genre, because the young girl obviously goes against what is expected from a horror film. However, it's said that the majority of viewers may feel more threatened by a young girl, by a female antagonist, as it's not a typical representation, and they feel as if anybody out there could actually be this antagonist. Also, the antagonist is wearing white. This represents purity and innocence, and by looking at her, you actually, the audience will question whether the antagonist is actually the protagonist, because she's wearing all white, which represents this innocence, and she's a young girl, so they question whether this antagonist is actually innocent, which kind of develops the plot a bit, because the antagonist is actually debatably the innocent one, as she got hit by the car and she's coming back for revenge.